Today we have a video from Stay Awake Crime and Psychology called Holly Thinks She Can Manipulate Everybody. Let's get right into it.
911, what is the address of the emergency?
Someone came up and just shot my assistant manager.
Where is the shooter?
I don't have enough information. He's gone. He left in his car. He literally left a second ago.
Officers from the Carrollton, Texas Police Department were dispatched to an apartment leasing office at 1120 MacArthur Drive. As they walked toward the building, they passed a gray Toyota Corolla with a single bullet hole in the driver's side window. They also noticed a knife sheath on the sidewalk. Lying right outside
Those fingerprints on that for
entrance
sure.
was Alyssa, who appeared to be unresponsive.
Damn.
In addition to the gunshot wound to her face, she was
Damn.
also covered from head to toe in deep lacerations. By this point, medics had arrived at the scene, so officers finished securing the perimeter while Alyssa received medical attention. But unfortunately, the medics were too late.
Sounds
At
like Katy Perry a
9:12
little bit right
a.m.,
there.
Alyssa Burkett was pronounced dead.
Damn,
The
rest in
forensic
peace.
unit proceeded to set up a tent in order to thoroughly examine Alyssa's body. Meanwhile, the officers finished securing the area and began interviewing several witnesses who all said that Alyssa was ambushed.
We just getting our day started.
Okay. Were you here when everything happened?
Yes, I was sitting at my desk.
Apparently, Alyssa pulled her vehicle into her parking spot at around 9 a.m., just in time for work. Little did she know, her killer was just a few spots over, sitting
Damn.
in a black Ford SUV.
That's
He
terrifying.
exited his vehicle, ran up to Alyssa, and fired his shotgun into her driver's side window.
I heard that pop. I turned around. I knew it was a gunshot.
Wait,
Alyssa's
so was it an
coworkers
assassination?
panicked.
It's an ad plan, but it sounds like that's like an assassination, or like somebody hired a hitman. Cause like, why are you just running up to some random girl with a shotgun? That's terrible.
Alyssa's coworkers panicked and stayed inside the building to protect themselves from the active shooter. The suspect jumped back into his vehicle and began to flee the scene.
Yeah, he only
until
had one
Alyssa,
target in mind.
covered in
It-
blood,
somebody
exited
hired
her
him to do
car
this
and
for sure.
stumbled over to a window near the front entrance. As she
Yeah,
banged on
survivor.
the window, begging for
Sheesh.
help, the attacker then ran up to her again and stabbed her several times. The attacker then jumped into his vehicle again and fled the scene for good.
Did you see him holding the knife?
Yeah, in the hand.
Don't touch anything, okay?
The investigators gathered around to inspect Alyssa's vehicle.
She got shot in the car.
Okay.
You can see her handprints.
During this inspection, they
I'm saying, look,
discovered
she
a
fought to the
tracking
end, though. I
device
can't- look,
hidden
you
in
gotta
one
give
of
her
the wheel
props.
wells. The device is collected for evidence,
Changes
and
dying,
while
give up.
investigators took photos of the vehicle, the lead detective contacted Alyssa's family to
Bro.
inform them of the tragic news.
We're going to start having family members show up here.
Not long after, Alyssa's mother Teresa showed up at the crime scene completely devastated, bringing us right back to the moment at the beginning of this video.
She even said, I think he's the kind of person that's going to try to kill me. And he did. And he did. Oh my.
Referring to is 33-year-old Andrew Beard, the father of Alyssa's daughter. Andrew has a successful career at Hilti Tool Services. He goes on frequent vacations, lives in a big house, and has his own airplane. After going on a few Tinder dates with Andrew, the relationship went stale, but soon after, Alyssa found out she was pregnant. Once their daughter was born, a tumultuous custody battle ensued.
Hi everyone, my name's Alyssa. This past year I have been going through a custody battle, a very ugly one. I have a 1-year-old child. It's taken a toll on my mental and physical health. With that being said, I've become a lot stronger in the process. And I guess just my message is no matter what you're going through, stick it out, you can do it, and stay strong.
Despite her positive
Amen.
outlook, Alyssa's finances were crumbling behind the scenes. However, in March of 2020, things seemed to take a turn for the better. The two reached an agreement regarding the custody of their daughter Willow and child support. By April, they were finally able to move on with their lives. Alyssa started dating a man named Ben, and Andrew started dating a woman named Holly, who he proposed to after just 1 month
So
together.
this is
In
Holly.
the first conversation
Okay.
between Alyssa and Holly, things looked promising. Holly texted Alyssa, "Look forward to having a super healthy relationship with you and Ben." Alyssa responded, saying, "I hope your influence helps, because I'd love nothing more than for all of us to have a healthy
Okay, so
relationship."
I'm
However,
thinking-
it turned out that this healthy relationship
I'm sure you're about to say it right now, Holly hired that hitman or whatever, because there's no way to do what he did, shoot in the car and then get out to finish the job. It was definitely she was definitely a target. It's insane.
relationship was nothing but a pipe dream. In September, just a month before Alyssa was murdered, a man named Frank called 911 to report that Alyssa was selling drugs out of the back of her car while at work.
I saw what I thought looked like someone just selling some drugs out of their truck, and I could smell it and I could see it. And
Okay, what kind of vehicle is it?
it's a little Toyota Corolla. I have a license plate if that helps.
Okay, great. What was your last name?
Morrow.
Officers went to Alyssa's workplace to investigate these claims. Inside her trunk, they found cash, drugs, and a pistol. However,
Damn.
it was determined that Alyssa had no real connection to these items. Somebody had planted them.
What the
Although
hell?
the police believed that Andrew was responsible for this, there was ultimately not enough evidence to place any charges.
I knew that it was him when the drugs didn't work in the car for him to get the baby.
Alyssa also expressed to her friends that Andrew always seemed to know where she was and that she would frequently run into him on her nights out. Because of this, she became fearful for her life and began sending paranoid texts to her friends. Come over while I walk inside. Do you see anyone around you? Lock the door behind you. He is going to try to get someone to kill me next.
Damn,
Just a
that's-
month before the attack,
that's
Alyssa
terrible.
started a GoFundMe to help with the legal fees of the custody battle, where she wrote, "At this point, I am scared for my life and my daughter's life."
I know he did this. He's an evil person. He cannot get away with this.
What scared Teresa even more was that on the day of the murder, Andrew had custody of Willow.
Yes, I want my grandbaby away from him. Oh my God.
But wait, how could Andrew be the killer
Mm.
if the witnesses said they saw a black male?
Like I say, the black baby.
Even if this was true, it's still possible that Andrew was involved in the planning of this attack.
Yeah.
She apparently has had a history with baby daddy.
Andrew Beard is the suspect?
Yes.
The police sent units to Andrew's home and put out a bolo for his white F-150, as well as the
I mean, I'll be watching The Sopranos and stuff like that, or even like Goodfellas. They will be like, they would do a crime and then tell somebody to say, "Oh, I saw two black guys do it." I'm not saying a black guy didn't do it, but I'm just saying how easy is it for somebody just to say, "Oh, it's a black guy," or it's a guy with a mask, and you automatically assume, whether you have prejudice or whatever, that it's a black guy. You know what I'm saying? It very well could be a black guy who did it, who got paid to do it. But I mean, I don't know.
the killer's black Ford SUV. Within hours, Andrew's truck was spotted, and he was pulled over for a traffic violation. After following an order to exit his vehicle, he was immediately handcuffed.
My part was to just find me. That's all they asked me to do.
Sitting in the passenger seat was Andrew's new fiancée, Holly Elkins. She was removed from the vehicle and handcuffed as well. But Holly wasn't the only passenger. Willow was also in the truck, safe and sound.
The daughter's in a car seat in the back seat. They've been pretty cooperative.
There wasn't enough evidence linking Andrew to Alyssa's death, so
This is
he and
crazy.
Holly were free to go. Due to the custody agreement, they were allowed to take Willow with them. But instead
Wow.
of going home, they were taken to a nearby Airbnb to stay at for the time being. Andrew's F-150 was seized, and a search warrant for the couple's home was executed later that night.
Carrollton Police Department search warrant. If you're in there, come out your hand up.
During the search, police found an envelope covered in writing with details of Alyssa's workplace and a description of her vehicle. They also
Like, how? Let me ask you a question. If you're going to be a damn criminal, how? You don't think to get rid of the evidence before all of it happens? I mean, how? It's good because you're getting your dumbass caught, because that is damning evidence. I mean, how can you explain how can you explain that away? You can't. But if I were to become a criminal, which I wouldn't, because I'm saying we doing this YouTube, you know what I'm saying? We about to be big on YouTube. 10,000 sub goal. I mean, sorry. If I were to do some criminal stuff, I feel like I would have the wherewithal. Is that a word? The wherewithal to try to at least half-ass get rid of the evidence before. Because once they get that warrant and your dumb ass is not there, you have your ass out. What are you thinking? What? So you could play stepmom? Like, wow. Unless this was I'm sure it was both of them. It was probably both of them who playing this dumb shit. Damn.
found the name Frank Morrow, the person who called 911 to report Alyssa for dealing drugs.
Frank
Police
Morrow.
also discovered a charger and batteries for the tracking device that was found on Alyssa's vehicle.
Wow.
So we found this GPS tracker box.
Back at the station, Andrew's truck was being searched as well. They found a backpack in the back seat, and inside the bag there was a pair of men's hiking boots that were soaked in bleach and had been cut into pieces, as well as 2 bottles of dark brown makeup.
See?
Detectives now
What did I
believe
tell you?
that Andrew used this makeup to disguise himself during the attack.
That's insane.
Investigators also discovered that Andrew had recently bought a black Ford Expedition just days before Alyssa.
I had a feeling it wasn't no black
They
guy.
were able to locate it on a random suburban street less than a mile away from his house. Using the SUV's GPS location data, they determined that he abandoned it there at about 9:30 a.m., a half hour after Alyssa's attack. They believed that this person, caught on a nearby home security camera, was Andrew, running through the neighborhood after abandoning the vehicle. While searching the vehicle, investigators found multiple blood stains that were confirmed through DNA testing to be from Alyssa. They also found Andrew's beard. Fake facial hair you might see someone wear on Halloween.
Look at
With
this.
the discovery of all of this evidence, Andrew was contacted and told that he would be arrested if he didn't turn himself in. The next day, he came down to the station to do just that.
Andrew Beard, over here.
Andrew was booked into the Dallas County Jail, and his bail...
Like, if you're gonna kill somebody, especially when you're gonna have the most motive, like when you get married, and your partner comes up dead, since you're the partner, like for me, I'll be the husband. If I was a husband, I would have the most amount of suspicion. So if you're gonna do that, knowing that off rip, you're gonna have the most amount of suspicion. You're gonna be the number one suspect because you are the ex. You have a child with this person. Why would you come up with such a Looney Tunes, Disney XD, Cartoon Network ass plan of wearing a disguise with a Party City beard and having all the evidence in your house? And now I know it says Holly thinks she can manipulate everybody, so maybe Holly put this idea in his head. Maybe she was, you know what I'm saying, seducing him, but even still, you did it. And both y'all did it. Like, y'all deserve each other because y'all are both idiots. Evil idiots.
Bail amount made it unlikely that he would get out anytime soon.
Beard's bond is set at $1 million. He is currently in the Dallas County Jail charged with murder, and police say it's very clear this killing was not random, it was planned, and it was personal.
A few days later, his fiancée Holly volunteered to speak with the police. She vouched for her husband-to-be and claimed that the idea of him doing something like this was complete nonsense.
I mean, the evidence is in your house.
My fiancé would do something like that to a woman, or to anybody, but a woman. So I just told all my friends and family that I'm engaged to the most wonderful man on the planet. Yeah. And now people want me to believe that he's not that.
Stop with the fake-ass tears.
For you to try to believe that. I get that. I'm telling you, there's a side of him that you do not know.
She does know it because she's a part of it.
An hour trying to convince Holly that Andrew was a killer, hoping they would come out of the interview with a key witness to testify against him in court. But Holly refuted any suggestion that Andrew was responsible, claiming that he was actually home with her at the time of the murder.
There are a few hours that you know he was not in that house.
You cannot tell me that I feel that way, sir.
I can tell you that because I know that for a fact that he was out of the house, Holly.
I don't know that for a fact. That's what my problem is. I am a total stage 5 clinger girlfriend. I'm always up his ass.
Stage 5 clinger girlfriend. No, bitch. I don't want to use that word lightly, but no, bitch. You are a deceiving, disgusting person, because I honestly feel that if she's not responsible for this, she damn well fucking knew. Your husband rented a car. You have to the stuff to kill her was in the backseat with her, the book bag. She was driving knowing she fucking knew. Y'all are both sick. I'm a stage 5 clinger girlfriend.
But I don't have any answers. I'm trying to help and no one's helping me.
Okay.
I feel bad to not. I just feel bad to not help something that I think is very sad that happened. I've literally cried myself to nauseam every single night over this.
Okay. Holly was adamant that Andrew had nothing to do with Alyssa's death, but the detectives weren't buying it. They suspected that Holly was covering up for Andrew.
Yeah,
Holly
clearly
realized this and told them that she would get a lawyer if she had to.
I don't want or need a lawyer because I don't have anything to hide. Yeah. Well, I feel like the dumbest, most manipulated woman on the entire planet, if this is true. Yes.
It seemed that both sides of the table had their minds made up, so the interview was concluded and Holly went back to her Airbnb. The GoFundMe set up for Alyssa's custody battle was repurposed to help with her funeral costs and any future legal fees.
Damn.
With the help of the community, it raised over $6,000. On October 8th, 2020, 6 days after Alyssa was killed, the funeral took place at Rest Haven Memorial Park. Her obituary read, "Alyssa was strong-willed, ambitious, fiercely determined, and driven. She had many friends, and she was a natural leader among them. Her
That's
presence will be
crazy.
deeply missed by everyone who knew and loved her." Also, Alyssa's family and friends posted online about the positive effect she had in their lives. For example, one of Alyssa's loved ones posted, "Alyssa represented a strong, kind, and determined leader. She left an impression on me that will last my entire life." Unexpectedly, 2 weeks
It's Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, your DSCC chair, and I need your help immediately.
after turning himself an impression on me that will last my entire life. Unexpectedly, 2 weeks after turning himself in, on October 21st, Andrew's bail of $1 million was paid and he was released.
A Rowlett man accused of shooting, then stabbing to death the mother of his child is free on bond this afternoon.
How are you allowed to go free for a violent crime like
He is a threat
that?
to public safety.
He was taken to the Dallas County Courthouse,
Doesn't make any
fitted
sense.
with an electronic GPS ankle monitor, and released for home confinement, placed on bail after a $1 million bond was paid on his behalf.
With news of Alyssa's killer being
Who paid
released, her family was terrified of him coming after them as well.
Yeah, who the
Another
hell wouldn't
serious
be?
concern was that he could flee from the authorities and Alyssa wouldn't get the justice she deserved. Alyssa's grandfather pointed out that Andrew was a pilot, making him a literal
Flight risk, yeah. Why the
family
hell
of
would he be
Alyssa Burkett
released?
Wants to know why someone paid for that release. They believe he should still be behind bars.
He is a flight risk himself. He has a pilot's license and he has an airplane that the police have not been able to locate yet.
The Carrollton Police Department decided to get the FBI involved, and just 8 days after being released, Andrew was once again taken into custody.
A Rowlett man accused of murdering the mother of his child has been arrested on a new charge.
Andrew Beard now faces a federal firearms charge. He recently bonded out of jail after being arrested for the murder of Alyssa Burkett.
Yeah, Heather and Steve, many people could not believe that Andrew Beard was out of jail after
Yeah.
posting a $1 million bond. Now the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Texas has found a way to charge him federally, and he is right back behind bars.
Good.
Now, Beard is back in jail on a federal charge of possessing an unlicensed firearm silencer.
It turns out that during the search of his home, an unregistered silencer was found, which warranted an arrest under federal law.
They did see that it was a homemade silencer. It did not have any serial numbers or manufacturing markings.
The ATF says it has no records of Beard legally owning a silencer and that the silencer has no manufacturer markings or a serial number.
Andrew's charges
That's
were
good.
eventually
Perfect.
changed to stalking using a dangerous weapon resulting in death and discharging a firearm during a crime of violence. He sat behind bars for the next year and a half. During this time, Teresa was given full custody of Willow.
Perfect. Oh my
They consistently
God.
visited Alyssa's grave and held a memorial
I
event.
feel so bad for that little
in her
girl.
honor.
Like, could you imagine?
is that? Balloon.
As for Holly, she left Texas and went back to her home state of Michigan, cutting off all communication with Andrew. She got a new condo, a new fancy car, and a new boyfriend. Then, on July 15th, 2022, Andrew suddenly requested to speak with the prosecutors. He wanted to make a plea deal. They were able to quickly come to an agreement. As part of this plea deal, he sat down with the detectives and shared his side of the story. He claimed that Holly was the mastermind behind
So you're
everything.
weak-minded.
She desperately wanted the perfect family with Andrew and Willow, and would stop at nothing to make this dream come true. He started by citing an incident that happened 2 months before Alyssa's death. On August 6th, 2020, Holly called 911 saying that she had been assaulted by Alyssa's mother, Teresa. 2 officers were sent to Holly's house to investigate these claims.
The grandmother,
Apparently, while grabbing Willow out of Holly's lap, Teresa attacked.
she literally attacked me from behind side. I was facing the lake.
The officers took pictures of Holly's injuries,
I have a
No. Oh, you have some on your stomach? Okay.
and it was immediately obvious that the red marks on her chest and stomach were not inflicted by another person. Holly's plan failed miserably, so she decided to step it up a notch. She came up with another plan to frame Alyssa for drug trafficking.
If you were to ask me whose idea was what,
drugs and the planning of drugs was.
But like, okay, so if they could tell that it wasn't done by the mom or the grandma, why didn't she get any type of charges for lying? Isn't lying on her police report like a crime or at least a misdemeanor? Or maybe I don't know anything. I feel like there should be consequences for lying. First off, you're wasting You're wasting police officers' time. Isn't you what they say the taxpayer, because you obviously gotta pay for the police officers to go out there and do it. You're wasting time and resources, and she didn't get any type of consequences for that. Maybe if her dumbass would have got consequences, the little baby girl's mom would still be alive. It's like, what the hell what are we doing?
But as we already know, this plan failed as well. At this point, Holly's patience was wearing thin, so she told Andrew that it was time to get serious.
It was made very clear to me that your previous methods aren't working. This is what you're going to do now in order to prove that that you're worthy.
Holly became you're worthy. Holly became increasingly manipulative towards Andrew, constantly calling his masculinity into question by texting him things like, "I don't want anyone who is a to some lowlife or a pushover. I want a man who protects his woman and child before anyone and doesn't give two fucks otherwise."
Like, I was emotionally drained, and
No,
at that point,
it's like,
I just basically said okay and became submissive to
yeah,
whatever
submissive
she wanted me
pussy,
to do.
no
That's the
backbone.
task I did.
Holly also told Andrew that they needed to get rid of Alyssa once and for all.
It was you're going to dress up as a different person. Essentially, you're going to wear this dark makeup. That was her plan. That was how it's going to be done. It does look planned out because it was. The process was planned out.
A week and a half before the murder, she went on vacation to Mexico, but continued to pressure Andrew while she was away. She texted him, "I'm not coming home to bullshit. I hope you handle it." Andrew responded, saying, "That's my goal." Then Holly said, "Well, it will be a whole different conversation if I feel like you are a ride or die. If not, then IDK." By the time Andrew carried out the murder, Holly was back from her vacation and stayed home with Willow while the attack occurred. The detectives asked Andrew why he went back to finish the job after Alyssa got out of her vehicle to seek help. He said he believed the gunshot wound was fatal and that he wanted to put her out of her misery. But according to the forensic pathologist, Alyssa was stabbed a total of 44 times. To the detectives, this seemed a bit overkill for a so-called mercy killing. They found it extremely unlikely that Andrew was a mere victim of Holly's manipulation, and believed that Andrew was downplaying his own desires to kill Alyssa. Following this interview, Andrew was sent back to the detention center to await his sentencing hearing. In a press release announcing Andrew's plea deal, the U.S. Attorney, Chad Meacham, released a statement saying, "This was a brutal, bloody crime. Miss Burkett's daughter is now suffering twin tragedies. Her mother is deceased, and her father is a confessed killer. We pray for strength for this child and for the rest of her family in the days, weeks, and years to come." For the next 10 months, the detectives focused on building their case against Holly. Then, in May of 2023, Andrew's sentencing took place. He received
life in
43
prison.
years in federal prison. 2 months later, in July, Holly was returning to the U.S. after another vacation, this time in the Dominican Republic. As she exited the plane at the Miami airport, she was arrested.
Fiance of a Rowlett man is now charged with helping to carry out the murder of his ex-girlfriend. Federal prosecutors arrested Holly Ann Elkins in Miami. Now, you might remember this story. Andrew Beard pleaded guilty to shooting and stabbing 24-year-old Alyssa Burkett in
same age as me.
2020
Sheesh.
as she arrived to work at a Carrollton apartment complex. They share a child. He's currently serving a 43-year sentence. This new indictment alleges Elkins helped plot the killing by stalking Burkett and brandishing a firearm.
Holly's arrest came as a shock to Alyssa's family, who up until this point had put all of the blame on Andrew.
It's bittersweet. It brings up all the hurt of the loss, but we're glad that she's being held accountable for it. It's a challenge, and this arrest it came as a surprise. But the more details I find out about it, the more I realize that she played a really big part in this, and she's gone 2.5 years without any accountability.
Nothing.
So I'm glad that she is being held accountable at this point.
She was charged with conspiracy to stalking using a dangerous weapon resulting in death, and brandishing a firearm in relation to a crime of violence. Her trial began on April 10th, 2024. And in their opening statement, the prosecution said, "Andrew Beard is a monster, but he was Holly Elkins' monster. They outlined Holly's secret hatred for Alyssa, highlighting all of the special names she had for her in her phone records. They also outlined Holly and Andrew's toxic relationship turned deadly from beginning to end. Only 2 months into their relationship, Holly was already berating Andrew about Alyssa, texting things like, "Your BM owns you. You continue to put BM first. You choose to be, IDK, for lack of a better term, submissive to her. I don't have want or need any bullshit from anyone." Around this time, she was also doing a ton of research into many different tracking devices. As you already know, Holly proceeded to harass Alyssa for the next several months leading up to her death. But the prosecution highlighted even more incidents that were discovered during the investigation into Holly. For example, Holly once placed a call to 911 under the fake name Amber, falsely claiming that Alyssa's car was driving erratically on the interstate. She also paid a private investigator.
God damn,
to
she's
dig up
fucking
dirt on
obsessed
Alyssa.
with her.
This private investigator testified at the trial, saying that they found nothing incriminating. Once the timeline reached September, the jury began to see a murder plan unfolding. On September 13th, 2020, Holly and Andrew purchased the black Ford SUV. The next day, on September 14th, 2020, Holly purchased the dark brown makeup from a drugstore. 5 days later, on September 19th, 2020, using her location history, investigators determined that she had accompanied Andrew to a supercenter. There, they purchased the same ammunition from the crime scene and a Camillus knife, which matched the sheath. Then, on October 2nd, 2020, Andrew, dressed in a black rain suit and disguised with makeup and a fake beard, shot Alyssa in the head with the shotgun, and after she stumbled out of her car to seek help, Andrew stabbed her 44 times. Her co-workers testified at trial that they found Alyssa covered in blood and gasping for air near the front door of the building. Prosecutors also presented a series of Google searches that Holly made right after her interview with police. They read, "Can I not be brought to court if I have a psychiatrist note? Vulnerable patients going to court? Contact psychiatrist in Dallas. Can I not be subpoenaed to jail if I have a mental issue?" In closing arguments, prosecutors said that all of this stemmed from Holly's obsession with getting custody of Willow. According to those inside the courtroom, Holly had zero emotion throughout the entire trial. After 7 days and just 90 minutes of deliberation, the jury had reached their verdict. Holly Elkins was found guilty on all counts.
Good.
Family and friends rejoiced outside of the courtroom, thankful that justice was finally being served.
I don't know. I'm overwhelmed with emotions right now, really.
Yeah, it's got to be a big mix.
But happy, overwhelming emotions because finally, this has been a long time coming.
What would Alyssa think about this?
I mean, she would be thrilled. I mean, I've been going to that gravesite since day one, telling her justice is going to be served.
A few months later, on August 15th, 2024, Holly Elkins received 2 life sentences to be served consecutively. She currently resides at FMC Carswell in Fort Worth, Texas, while Andrew Beard resides at USP Tucson in Arizona. As for Willow, Teresa is currently in the process of adopting her. They talk about Alyssa on a regular basis and routinely visit her grave,
Happy Mother's Day.
hoping to keep Alyssa's memory alive for her daughter.
Her baby gets up in the morning and goes right to a picture of her mother and picks it up and kisses it every day.
On Mother's Day, she asked if she could take a gift to heaven and give it to her mother. So she's aware of it. She left such a big hole in our family. And of course, her beautiful daughter is with our family, and she's just like her in many ways. And so it's a constant reminder of that one of our tribe is missing. When someone says, "I'm glad you got closure," you know, sometimes I have to say, you know, it's not like that. Alyssa was, you know, the victim of an unprovoked attack. We can learn from it and we can integrate it into our lives, but I don't think you ever close the book totally on something like this, which is the way I feel about Alyssa. The book is still open with her.
Wow. Haven't done one of these like body cam, like police kind of videos in a while. At least a few months. I enjoyed watching it. It was a little bit more heavy than I thought it was gonna be, but even still. But all right, y'all. It's Tucker Tuck signing out. Peace.